Welcome to VLearn Virtual Learning Network. This is session number 19 of Personal Administration and topic is Salaries Administration. Topics to be covered in this session are methods of pay fixation, methods of job evaluation, principle of pay fixation, history of salary administration, principles adopted for salary administration during the post-independent era, incentives, meaning and other benefits. Now come to the first topic, that is methods of pay fixation. There are various methods of fixing up salaries of public servants. Each country follow a different methods of pay fixation. It is determined by her past traditions, administrative patterns, nature of her constitutions and character of the people. Some of these methods are: salaries are fixed by status of legislature. It means this system prevails in countries having immature personal systems such as Middle Eastern countries and in local bodies and small cantons. The legislature lays down the plan in broad schematic outline but leaves the detail to be determined by the executives. Such is the case in India and in the federal governments. Salaries are fixed up by collective bargaining. Such is the case with all private enterprises and also with most of the public enterprises. Salaries are fixed by local or area wage boards. Determination of salary is based upon periodic study of prevailing rates. This method is usually adopted in public corporations and other public utility enterprises. Lastly, there is unplanned haphazard system of wage determination, which is a relic of the past and is a sign of immature personal systems but is not altogether extinct in the modern world. When a government undertakes a new activity, it usually follows no planned system of wage determination in the beginning but leaves it to time to evolve a proper system to suit that service. So there is always a need to determine salary on the basis of inputs like education, training and working environment, and we must develop a pay structure which would ensure equilibrium between the inputs and the salary structure pertaining to self and in relation to others. This requires job evaluation, which is the process of inquiring into the inputs required of employees for minimum job performance and equating the relative worth of the various jobs within the organization so that differentiate pay may be paid to jobs of different worth. Now, methods of job evaluation. There are two methods of job evaluation that are normally used by organization. First one is non-analytical and second is analytical. Now, non-analytical methods establish grade hierarchy but are not quantitative, while analytical methods are quantitative and can be expressed in some numeric form. Small organizations prefer non-analytic methods as compared to analytic, which are used by large organizations. Then non-analytical is divided into two parts. First one is job ranking method. Ranking is a direct method of comparing jobs together so that they are ranked in their order of importance. This technique simply lists the relative worth of the various jobs under consideration. Jobs are not divided up factor-wise but are considered as a whole. Because of the difficulties in ranking a large number of jobs at one time, the paired comparison technique of ranking is sometimes used. Besides, we can use the technique of selecting top and bottom jobs as benchmarks for the remainder of the ranking process and ranking based on organizational charts. Ranking system is easy and quick to administer. The chief disadvantage of the method is that it is subjective as there are no yardstick for the jobs and obviously the underlying assumption of those doing the ranking cannot be examined. Second, job classification method. In this method, we select one or two jobs from each level of grading structure and prepared standard discrimination of the duties, responsibilities and requirement of these jobs. These jobs are known as benchmarks or key jobs. Job description are then examined and jobs are classified into the grades or levels that seems to be most appropriate. Since it depends upon existing jobs for classification, it becomes unrealistic and cannot go into the changes in job content besides jobs by total content rather than in the assessment of individual tracks go to make the position. Second is analytical. These methods are quantitative and they can be expressed in numerically form. Now, analytical is also divided into two parts. First is weighted point assessment. The point method or job evaluation analyzes several factors common to the job being evaluated and then rates each job along a scale of each factor. The general scheme is identical to that of graphic rating scale, which is the most widely used device in the appraisal of employees. The rating scale includes a definition of each compensable factors. Now, second one, factor comparison method. The factor comparison method is more complicated than the point method. The essential features are: select job factors or characteristics, construct a scale for each job factor, measures all jobs in terms of the yardsticks, conduct a wage survey for selected key jobs, design the wage structure, adjust and operate the wage structure. Principles of pay fixation. First is economic position of the pay scale of public service should be related to the means or per capita income and extent of economic position of the country. Second, cost of living and the price of labor. Salaries in government services should also be a relationship with the cost of living, so there should be provision for revising and adjustment of pay rates with at least major changes in the cost of living. In short, salary scales in the public services should be both just and adequate. Inadequate salaries in the public service are an expense and not an economy. There should also be sufficient flexibility in the compensation plan to allow administrators to give some employees double or triple increment and to permit the appointment of recruits within a salary range rather than necessarily at the bottom step. Third is state as the model employer. The model employer principle is not suitable for determination of remuneration, but it should be taken into account. The minimum wage or salary should not be determined only on economic considerations but should also satisfy social tests. Even above the minimum level, government should remunerate their employees fairly. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work is an important factor in the determination of pay scales. There should not be individual variations in the pay scales on the basis of favoritisms. Prevailing market rates. Fourth step are involving in identifying and analyzing the effect of the prevailing market rate in the salary administration. The policy of the government. There is one of the main principle in the fixation of the salaries. By and large, the political complexion of the government, the ideologies professed and practiced by it, and the level of opposition faced by it determine the policy of the government in fixing the various scale of pay. History of salary administration in British rule. Raising prices and consequent fall in the real pay of the civil servants was yet another factor in the declining of his or her status. The rise in prices was of course an important factor in the new situation. While justifying its proposal to have salaries increased by at least 30%, the government of Bihar and Orissa, for instance, pointed out that between 1890 and 1912 the general level of prices had justened by as much as 30 to 40%, and then that the average increase since 1900 might fairly be taken at 50%. The Home Civil Service had thus started drawing away candidate at the top of the competitive list. The political changes in India and the increased opportunities created in England for promising young persons after the war served as an additional inducement for top candidates at the combined examination to opt for the Home Civil Service. Principle for salary administration, job evaluation plan and compensation plan must be separate and distinct and so understood by all. Both the job evaluation and compensation plans should be sufficiently flexible to accommodate peculiarities of local labor conditions. Evaluation must be scientifically sound and easily comprehensible. Individual responsible for the administration of the wage administration plan should, wherever possible, report directly to the same administrative level as Director of Personnel. Extreme caution should be exercised in selection of wage and job analysts and other who are to be concerned with the execution of the program. The plan offers satisfaction to the just or reasonable interest of the employer. Wage administration plan must at all time be consistent with management policies or programs. The wage administration plan must be flexible and responsive to changed circumstances growing out of locality and conditions. The wage administration must be consistent with nature and objectives of the organization. The wage administration plan must simplify and expedite rather than impede the other administrative processes. Now, salary fixation by the First Pay Commission. In Indian system of classification, though not strictly based on the salary rates or the character of the work done, reflected these elements also. The First Pay Commission, appointed under the chairmanship of Shrivasa Vardakabiriyar, an ex-judge, submitted in 1949 that this classification was also linked up with differences in privileges in respect of disciplinary actions and right of appeal. Recommendations of Second Pay Commission. As per the recommendations of the Second Pay Commission in its report submitted in 1959, a single standard scale for class 2 was accepted. Pay scale or grades in class 3 were even more numerous. For the clerical staff, there were 4 supervisory grades plus 3 more as UDC, LDC and stenographers. According to V.A. Pai Panadikar, the present fourfold classification was not organized on any systematic basis. A conceptual framework was essentially lacking and the basic categories arose entirely by a historical accident. The numerical calling superimposed on the various services was merely a matter of convenience. The Third Pay Commission, set up by the Government of India on 23rd April 1970, submitted its report in 2 volumes in 1973 under the chairmanship of Shri Raghuvar Dayal, an ex-judge of the Supreme Court. The Commission made recommendations pertaining to working hours, holiday, overtime allowance and other welfare measures, as well as classification of posts based on as assumed equivalence of work content of different levels of various occupational groups of employees. The Fourth Pay Commission, set up by the Government of India in July 1983 under the chairmanship of Justice P.N. Singhal, came into being on September 1, 1983. The recommendations of the Commission covered about 52 lakhs government employees, including those of the armed forces. The Commission reduced the number of pay scales of civil employees from 153 to 36. Incentives, meaning the term incentive is used to describe material and non-material benefits of employees, in addition to their normal salaries for making their best efforts to promote productivity and efficiency. According to Wendell French, the purpose of incentive plans is to increase the morale and motivation of employees to contribute to the goals of the organization by offering financial inducements above and beyond basic wages and salaries. One of the biggest challenges to modern organization is how to ensure productivity efficiency. Incentive system can impel an employee to earn more by working hard. Non-material incentives may take the form of recognition of the work of the employees through appreciations letter and merit certificate, medals, etc. Various types of incentives. Material incentive plan, it is divided into 2 parts: group incentives and profit sharing plans. Second is non-material incentive plans. And other benefits are Dearness allowance, that is DA, it is intended to compensate the employees for the even rising price and cost of living from time to time. City compensatory allowance, cost of travel in cities and other highly developed towns is increasing due to other factors such as rising cost of petroleum products and the employees need help to reach their place of work. House rent allowance, it means an allowance granted on an employee to cover the house rent facility. It will be paid to the employee according to his or her basic pay. Traveling allowance, that is TA, this means an allowance granted to the employee to cover the expense which he or she incurs while traveling on official work from one place to another. DA, daily allowance, it is an allowance for each day of absence from headquarters which is intended to cover the ordinary daily charges. LTC, leave travel concession, this is granted to the employees once in 3 or 5 years as they cannot undertake such journeys without help of the employers. Medical allowance, medical facilities being provided to the employees as a welfare measure with a view to save them from abnormal cost of medicines. Conveyance allowance, it is given to the connection with the transportation of luggage from one place to another. Other benefits are allowance are perks provided to the employees, conveyance allowance, uniform allowance and children allowance. Conveyance allowance I have already told you, and uniform allowance is some categories of the government servants have to put on special uniforms while discharging their duties. For example, police, peons, etc. Children's education allowance, it is given to employees to enable him or her to get his or her children educated under certain conditions. Now, retirement benefits available to the employees. There are 3 forms of retirement system: non-contributory, partly contributory and wholly contributory. Under the first system of government undertakes to defray the entire cost of making the retirement allowance. Under the second system, the cost is partly met by the government and partly by the employees, and under the third system, the entire cost is met by the employees through deduction made from their salaries. In India, there are 2 main schemes of retirement benefits for the central government employees, namely pension scheme and contributory provident fund scheme. Pension scheme, central contributory provident fund. Pension scheme, it involves cash disbursement to the retired employees in fixed monthly amount. It guarantees them a secure life as long as they live. Pension can be held at any time when it feels that the prisoner is engaged to any subversive activity against the state or has otherwise acted against the prestige of the government. Now, kinds of pensions. First one is superannuation pensions, retiring pensions, invalid pensions, compensatory pensions, and the last one is compensate allowance. Contributory provident fund, they can be classified under the following heads: age, disability, death, resignation. Pay commission and retirement benefit. Third pay commission and retirement benefit. Fourth pay commission and retirement benefit. Annuation pension, commutation pension. Now there are some questions on the basis of this session. First one is discuss the principle of pay fixation, and second is discuss the various types of incentives in salary administrative. That's it for this session. Thank you. Happy